We are going to go over basic calendaring as well as note writing functions within MHER. So sit back and enjoy the ride. Here we go. So if I go to my calendar here, I just have an example right there of a what it looks like to schedule a client. I will do that. The easiest way is to pick a time. So as you hover over anything, you'll see in red the time. I click on that time and it brings up the calendaring function. Right here, I first of all select, well, I want to note whether it's a private or a Medicaid because it brings up a different set of forms. If I go private, I only have a certain select things I'm doing. So that's for insurance, or that is for a private pay client. If they're Medicaid, which is the default, then it brings up additional activities I can do because there's also community-based things like peer support or others. We have right here new patient, which restricts it further to guide you to do a CDA and a treatment plan before anything. But as most are transitioning, you're not going to want that. So here's where I would start, is with my activity. So let's do just a regular 45-minute session of counseling. I have my client is already selected because he's highlighted in the system, but you can select any client, just search. So imagine I put demo in there and I find him and then I select him. The next is the date. This is meant to be a little bit like Google, where you it defaults to 45 minutes because that's the average session, but I could change it to anything. Like I can change it to a 10 o'clock session here if I want, you know. So it's a full hour. It also can repeat, much like Google. I can repeat every day, and that would be quite a bit. Or every week, let's say, is probably your most typical. But then you want to put a end date in there. I usually put it out a year if you're putting an end date when you repeat. You also could repeat more than once a week. Say I'm doing CBRS or an intensive client. Maybe I can click Monday and Thursday, and then it will schedule more than once. But we are going to actually just do repeats every week. Then we are going to, you can just hit save. Actually, at that point is probably the best. Okay. And there it is, right on the calendar. If I hover over it, it tells me a little bit about that, and it will let me edit it. If I hover over the name, it will give me his demographics, his age, birth date, phone numbers, and stuff like that. Notice since he's an minor that it will list the parent's name too, which is helpful if I'm calling. I know who the parent would be for front desk. Okay, after I have done that, also I can click on his name and that will take me to his file, like his electronic file where I can see everything about him, more information about his contact and stuff like that. So let's now go back to the calendar. So after I've seen the client, I can click on, notice I click on the time. If I click on the time, it allows me to edit the actual appointment. Right here you have status, and under status you have a number of different options. The most common, if I hit arrived or arrived late, it generates a note, or if I hit session completed, it generates a note. One thing to note on that the MHER system is a calendar driven system. I must record an activity on the calendar. So if I hit save, let's go hit save. It's just like Google, all current, future. You probably just want current because that's going to generate your note. And then, hold up. So if I generate an activity, which is an appointment, and then I can then close the appointment by session completed. It will then generate a note. So if I go to my dashboard, I will see my note there. And so then I can just click on that note and write out the note. Some things to be aware of on your note. It will auto-populate your note from your last note. So once I've completed this once, all this information like the goals, the buttons I've clicked, the little boxes, the codes, and everything will all auto-populate except for the basic note narrative, because that is. The other exception is it will not auto-populate your location, just because we had people leaving it no matter what. So it has a number of different things. Let's just say this guy is telehealth, so we're doing a televideo on him. It also will not generate your session type, because we had people leave it and then they would change, they would do crisis or whatever else, and so then it would leave the regular time in there, but they were actually doing a crisis. So it erases that, and so you have to do those. Everything else, all these boxes, will all auto-populate after your note here. Once you're done and you've completed everything, you can also say, I get halfway through and my next client's coming, I can just save it, and it will save the information I've done and kick me back to my dashboard there. Okay, so it pops up, and so he's still there. I can come back. Note we have currently have a 5-day window where notes expire, so they are encouraged to get their notes done on a time. After I'm done with that, I can say I'm done. I can also see when my next appointment is. It's, let's say, a week from today. Should populate, and I can put the time whenever. But I digitally sign it. So I click digitally sign, and then I put my password in there conveniently, and I hit sign. When I hit sign, I will no longer be able to modify this note. So let's hit sign, and it's off my dashboard. I still could potentially get there by if I went to my client, and he should have notes appear, and I can see right there I just wrote the note for that day, which is today, and I can view it right here. See, I'm done. Say I had something go wrong where I put some wrong information, or something additionally happened. I do have the ability, if I go back to it, to click amendment. If I do, then I can write in here, actually it was a crisis, so should be billing code 90839, or something. And then if I put my password in and sign, it will add that on as an amendment. So then it should be there. So let's go view note. Let's go, here we go. So now if I view it, you can see at the bottom it not only has a signature, but it will have the amendment if I put that in there. So also it's now should be off my dashboard, so I don't have any things that needed to be completed on that. Okay, well, hopefully that gives you some ideas on writing notes and using your calendar. Let me go back to the calendar about a couple other functions here. I can, if I click on a time, there is not only patient, but there's provider, and so there's some things I can do here, categories, like I could put lunch in there, and it's not or vacation or out of the office or supervision. So maybe I want to note that my supervision is that day or a meeting, so that way they don't try and schedule a client on it. So I can put supervision, and I'm meeting with Yoda, my supervisor, and then it puts the default for an hour for that one. I can adjust the color because Yoda likes a kind of greenish color. Let's see, he's a little darker green, isn't he? Maybe about like that. That's about Yoda colored. And I could again ask it to repeat or anything like that. And so if I hit save on that one, then I have my reserve time in there. And this way it can be more like a Google Calendar where I can put other stuff that staff can be aware of that's not a billable event on it. Okay, I think that about covers everything for calendar, or the basics for calendaring and for writing notes. Have a great day. Bye.